did not intend for this to be the Murray's Law. I really didn't. I've been getting up in the morning and doing a morning devotional before I start my day. And one that I've been reading in the morning is the Law of Harvest, and then I'm reading one at night talking about anxiety. But it was something, as I was reading it, I promise you, I just heard, you have to share this. Like, you have to share this. So I started making notes and things, and I knew I was going to share it with you all. I didn't know how I was going to share it. And then it just came, God just spoke to me and said, this is your Murray's Law. Somebody needs to hear this. Somebody in your group, somebody that's associated with you, somebody that you have influence over needs to hear this. So this is what we're doing today. What I want to talk to you all today is about giving up and giving up too soon, and really about how it has to do with sowing seeds and harvest. One of the things that we're talking about in church too is God's financial plan for us, and how there's two systems. And in God's system, the world system talks about, it really focuses on beg, borrow, and steal, where God's system is more of reaping, sowing and reaping. And so this devotional ties right along with that. Attend Safe Harbor Church in Montgomery, and the pastor is Hart Ramsey. And this devotional is by Dr. Tony Evans. So they're totally unrelated, but the messages really coincide. So I guess that's another reason why I was just like, man, let me share this. So here's this. Some of y'all are working in your business and you're like, you feel like you're working really hard and you're not seeing the rewards of it, or you can't find people to buy your products, or maybe you started a business and you started this business so that you can have more time with your family, right? But because you had this business, you find yourself with no time in your business, and every other day or every other week it seems like there's a problem or a fire or something just not working out, and you're just like, why in the world am I doing this? I'm doing this for nothing. And some people have been in business for 3 weeks, and some people have been in business for 3 years, and you're just like, what is going on? So again, like I said, I was reading this devotional. It's by Tony Evans, and the message is just a reminder. This message serves as a reminder that there is a time period, there is a waiting period between the sowing and the reaping. So there's a time period between the work that you're doing and putting in and you seeing the benefits of that work. Sometimes we get frustrated because we're doing all this work and we don't immediately see the benefits from it. But it doesn't always work that way. Think about it. Like, really think about it. What type of farmer goes out and plants seeds and then comes out the next day or the next week and says, okay, I'm ready to get my harvest. I'm ready to reap what I put in the ground. That's not how it works, right? And if you're doing God's work, and this is kind of the point of this message, if you're doing God's work, right? If you're doing God's work and you're following your purpose, you will reap. You will see the benefits of that. And there's another devotional by Dr. Kenneth Bennett who talks about finding your purpose with God. But there are really 3 things that your harvest depends on. And if you read this devotional, I've got it from the YouVersion, the Bible app YouVersion, and like I said, it's Tony Evans, Dr. Tony Evans, and it's called The Law of Harvest. He talks about your harvest depending on 3 things. 3 things. And one is what you sow, how much you sow, and where you sow. And we need to talk about all those things as it relates to your business, because listen, what you sow, you're upset and frustrated in your business, but what are you doing in your business? How are you operating your business? Are you building and exceeding or executing the best practices in your business? Or are you treating your business like, or some of us go into business out of necessity, right? We need to make this money. So because we need to make this money, we're just doing things. We haven't taken the time to set up the proper foundations and create the best practices. So we're just kind of going with the flow and doing things. Right? And if that's how you execute in your business, those are the seeds that you're sowing, and it's not consistent, that's what you're going to reap. You're not going to reap that benefit of having a business that produces constant fruit and revenue if you're not constant in your business, if you're not having the best practices and best foundations in your business. If you're running your business like a hobby, you're probably going to get paid like one. So that was the thing. Number 1, what are you sowing? Number 2, how much are you sowing? How many of us have businesses? And again, are you really investing your time and your resources into your business? Or are you like afraid? Are you holding back? Are you holding back from being the best in your business because you're afraid? You're afraid that it's going to fail, and if it's failed, you just put this money in it for no reason at all, and now you're going to be out. Or maybe you have some type of imposter syndrome. I know a lot of us, especially as women, we suffer from imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to be this great? Who am I to do this? Who am I? But my thing is, who are you not to? Like, for real, who are you not to be everything that God promises you will be, everything that He told you to be? Who are you not to be any of that, right? So how much are you sowing? Are you not getting the full benefit of the work that you're putting in because you're not putting in your full work? If you just plant down 5 seeds, right, or 5 seeds a week, you can't expect to harvest a whole field. Am I right? Anybody there? Anybody hear me listening? Catching what I'm throwing out? Let me know in the comments. Like, for real. Hey, Nikisha, how you doing? So the first thing we want to talk about is, what are you sowing? The second thing is how much you're sowing. And there are so many different questions and ways that this can be interpreted, especially as it relates to business. But the way that I see it, the thing that came to me in my heart was, are you serving in the way that you're supposed to? Are you really executing the vision that God gave you? Are you following your purpose? Or are you doing something because you see other people doing it, or because someone says, hey, you're really good at that, you can make money off of that? Because there's a difference between the thing that God has you to do because He needs you to do, because what you do affects someone else and helps that person reach, fulfill their purpose, and you doing something just because, you can make money off of it, or someone says that you're good at it, or, there's a difference. There's a difference. And so one of the reasons you might not be benefiting the way that you should in your business is because you're not following your purpose and doing what you're supposed to do. And maybe you're doing what you're supposed to do, but you're not doing it for who you're supposed to be doing it with. How many people are in business and they're frustrated and mad because they have this business and their friends don't like their business page yet, but your friends and family aren't your market. And so instead of you chasing them down for this product, you need to find the people that you were really meant to serve. And there's a devotional, and again, her name is Dr. Kendra Bryant, and the name of the devotional is AIM. And what it does, it goes more in depth into finding God's purpose for our lives and how to execute that purpose. And so that's what I wanted to make sure that I wanted to tell you today. Some of us are frustrated in our business because we are not doing what we're supposed to do. And there's a difference between being really busy, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're always busy. There's always something, right? There's a difference between doing that and doing what you're supposed to do so that you can have a good business that makes consistent money and revenue. And one of the things that I want us to get back to as business owners and as entrepreneurs is really those foundational pieces. Jocelyn says, it's a great example. I'm so impatient. You can't plant a tomato seed today and pick them tomorrow. Definitely, we can't. We get so impatient, and even I get impatient. I start doing things, and it's like, why am I doing this? It's not even working. And are we even giving it time to reap? Because as we're sowing, right? As we're sowing, we're doing the work. What we don't see is the behind the scenes thing, what God is doing and who He's putting into place to intercede on our behalf to get us to where he wants us to be. We don't see any of that, so we think nothing is happening. Like just when you plant the seeds, you cover them up, and then you don't see them anymore, and you don't think anything is happening. Next thing you know, there's a little sprout that's come up, but you don't know all the roots that are dug down deep to allow that sprout to rise. We don't see any of that, and we get impatient. And the one thing I want you to remember, and about all this, one is, as you're working, we have to have faith. We have to have faith and believe that God is going to do what He promised us. If He gave it to us, like if you can see it, if you can feel it, if you have this thing on you that just won't go away, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then that's God. And he is not going to give that to you as a teaser. He's not going to give you that and be like, and just dangle it in front of you if it's not attainable. If he gave you the will, he will make a way. You have to have faith. You have to have faith. And just one of the things that I have to go back and tell myself and remind myself, it's like, has he ever failed me? Has there ever been a time where he just ghost and not been there and I haven't made it? And the answer is no. We get so distracted and distraught over the now of our situation, which makes us forget about God and his promise and how he's always there. And even though we don't see him, he is there. And if we can just kind of inhale, exhale, then we will know and we can feel his presence, and that anxiousness will go away, and we can rely on that promise to get us through to the harvest time. Because even though things are difficult, it does not necessarily mean that it's time for you to quit. If you have done those 3 things that we talked about, if you have checked yourself, sometimes we have to check ourselves. If you're checking and if you are checking what you sow, right? Meaning that you are looking at your business and you're saying, okay, I've done what I'm supposed to do. I have the proper foundations. I have systems in place. I know who my market is. Then, okay, keep it going. If you checking yourself and you're saying, okay, am I really invested in this business? Have I done what I was supposed to do? Have I invested my time in this business? Have I invested my money in not just resources, but people that can help me? Because a lot of times we're not going further in business because we're just holding on. We're holding on out of fear. You have to trust God. You have to trust him that he gave you this vision and these talents for a reason, right? You have to trust him and pray for discernment. I've made bad investments. I'm not saying everything you spend money on in business is a good investment. I've made plenty of bad investments, and I've made bad investments in people. But I've learned something from that. And one of the things that I learned is but the reason I made those investments and jumped that gun is because I was anxious. I was trying to do things on my time, right? And trying to make it happen fast instead of letting God bring the people to me that I'm supposed to connect with, that's going to take me to the next place in my journey. So that's that. So when you're checking your business and you're checking that harvest and like, well, okay, why am I not reaping what I'm sowing? What are you sowing? How much are you sowing? And then where are you sowing? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you following your true purpose? Or are you chasing something that somebody else set for you because you're too afraid to do what you're really called to do? One of the things that, when I started my practice, and when I started this virtual practice, and when I started doing specifically what I was doing, there weren't very many people doing it, especially attorneys, and using social media and going live and things. And so for which I was hesitant in doing it because nobody was doing it, right? Nobody was doing it. So I would go in there, but I wouldn't be as consistent as I should be because, again, nobody was doing it. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should be doing what everybody else is doing. And then when I fell back, then everybody else started doing it, and what happened was I missed my opportunity. And I don't say I missed it because a lot of people still, even other attorneys, they come and say, you are inspiration, you are this and that. But where would I have been? What would my harvest have been if I would have stayed consistent and not given up too soon? And that's all I want to tell you. That's all I came here for today's Murray's Law, which is a lot longer than normal. But you guys, thank you for sticking with me. All right.